All right, it's the final word daily. Adam Collins and Jeff Lemon on the field at Kensington Oval, a ground I've wanted to go to my whole life, Jeff. We're here for Maurice Blackburn Lawyers, Australia's #1 plaintiff law firm. You're going to tell us about the first day of the Frank Worrell Trophy. I've been trying to avoid saying it the wrong way around all day, in 30 seconds.
Not a great day for Australia's batting. Chose to bat, the lowest ever score by an Australian team in the Caribbean that chose to bat. There you go, 180 all out. They were 3 for 22, and then a little partnership between Khawaja and Head got them to 111, and then they lost 7 for 69. It was Shamar Joseph who did the damage early with 4. Jayden Seales hoovered them up at the end for 5, and then Australia got them 4 down for, 57 by stumps. One of those was the night watchman, so 3 top order wickets out, and they were 123 runs behind.
They are indeed 123 behind, with Brandon King on debut. We'll talk about his debut, I'm sure, at different points
Better
through the
with
show.
the bat than in the field.
Entirely possible in the Hall of Fame. He's 23, he's batted quite nicely. He's there with the captain, Roston Chase, who's captaining for the first time this week and playing his 50th test on his home ground. You're right, it was a 7 for 69 collapse. At one stage it was 5 for 32 when they were reduced from 3 for 111 to 8 for 143 either side of tee. That was after the 3 for 22 collapse that started the test match, which could have been worse if not for the fact that the Windies caught so poorly behind the wicket. Shamar Joseph outstanding with 4 wickets. Jayden Seales just as good with 5. Shamar got the party started though. The way he bowled with such venom from the Joel Garner end. He probably should have bowled from the Malcolm Marshall end with his frame, and the way he approaches the crease.
Yeah. That did seem incongruous. Joel Garner behind him. I thought you could put 2 Shamar Josephs on top of each other and you might get 1 Joel Garner.
It genuinely feels like, I know that his story or his journey, using the modern language, between Brisbane and Barbados.
Everyone's on a journey.
Yeah, those months in between haven't been too crash hot.
No.
We're well aware of that. But it's
when
something
he plays
about
Australia.
Yeah, something about lifting in these contests, and it gives him the chance to show his best, because these series mean so much. And boy, he is a proper fucking cricketer. He is serious steel.
That
the way he attacked the stumps, the way he attacked both edges, had it going both ways, through the air, off the surface. And the lower trajectory can often be a little bit, because you're not that conditioned to it when you play Test cricket. You're used to bowlers being, 6'3" to 6'7". Not sort of, he's probably 5'10". Collingwood 6-footer possibly.
Marshall again, yeah.
Yeah, you know what I mean? So it's different to the normal thing, and it bloody hell works.
But he can still get it to bounce.
Yeah.
So he can get the zip, he can get the one, the ones that it feels like they're staying low, even though they're not exactly staying low. But he can also get the one to hop when he really puts it in to the surface. So he's got that ability to test you. Like you talk about testing both edges of the bat.
Yeah.
It's more like doing it the other way, on the y-axis rather than the x-axis. And that's how he was able to test players out at times, getting Constus with that one early that decks in. It's the classic Constus problem that people have identified already, that it comes in, it hits him on the knee roll of the back pad, and because there's that skid, it's smashing the bails. It's 3 reds. It's given not out, probably because the umpire was thinking that's going over, trending towards leg side, but not that much. But it's not on the review, on the reconstruction. It's not bouncing that high. And then there was just that point. You know that not many things upset me more in cricket than drop catches. Like, I hate drop catches because they feel like an injustice. They feel like somebody's done the work, they've drawn the error, they've done the thing they're supposed to do, and it's like a procedural, it's like having a court case thrown out on procedural grounds, when all of the stuff is there for the result, but unfortunately you didn't file this account at this time, or this piece of paperwork wasn't lodged by this date, or something like that, and it gets thrown out. I'm like, who cares if the guy in the slip cord and put it down or not? It felt like that. It felt like injustice. It felt like, I was just sitting there thinking, Shamar Joseph, he's on the heater. He's absolutely blistering. He gets the edge from Green. He gets the edge from Khawaja. Neither of them are taken. He finally gets Green a little bit later with another edge into the cordon, but then Khawaja survives, and there was just that feeling. I just had that feeling that Khawaja's going to ton up here, clearly. He's just going to bat through the day because it's what he does. When he gets a reprieve, and it looked for a while like that may be what happened, even as Josh Inglis came and went. Yeah, so Khawaja, after those nervy early moments, was really fluent for about 20 minutes there, up to about 30, I'd say. Then either side of lunch, it was a bit more of a struggle. Of course, he's supported by Travis Head, who changes the energy entirely, got to 50 and 57 balls, and it wasn't without risk playing aerially through the offside. I suppose it's just what Travis Head does and will be forever, so there's no way you've got to accept... It wasn't a decision for today. No, you've got to accept, long since reconciled, everyone who watches Travis Head play, that's the way he plays. That's kind of fine. Some players, not all players have that latitude, but when you've got
when you've got the ability to win test matches on your own as often as Travis Head does, it's totally cool. Anyway, I digress.
He's totally different. The way, like he hit the first 4 of the day when Travis Head came in, and he was drilling them along the ground through the covers. Very slow outfield. Everything was pulling up. Travis Head,
spongy out here.
Travis Head 9 4s. Everyone else 10 4s.
Yeah,
across the entire day.
So look, just to come back to Joseph and then to move to the other bits and pieces throughout. So Shamar Joseph, creates the chances. There's poor old Brandon King, his first touch in Test cricket's a drop catch in the gully, and Roston Chase, his first touch as captain at first slip is a chance that goes down as well. So
sort of swinging away from him late that one, and he got the hands cupped under it and spilled it going to his towards the keeper to his right for the left-hander.
So incredibly frustrating, and I like you felt as though Australia would seize the opportunity. What I want to say is credit to the Windies bowlers for coming out and absorbing an 89-run partnership and not losing their shit. I reckon that there would be many instances in the last 20 or so years when the Windies would have been put under some pressure by Australia and other teams, having had a good moment or two, only to let it slip and to concede the day. And I know that they don't do particularly well with the bat and they're 4 down at the stumps, and they come back tomorrow probably with honours even, and they haven't entirely seized the moment late in the day, as tough as it was, by the way, against the Australian quicks, who were probably pissed that once again they'd been let down by their top order. That's the way it works in cricket teams when
and maybe West Indies are lucky not to be 6 down, like they
maybe
could have
so,
been. Like
maybe
they
so.
might have done okay, because one of those is the night watch.
Yeah.
One of those is Jamal Warwick and the man the authorities came to blame.
That's right.
So maybe it's not as bad. Chase is still there, Brandon King's there on 20 odd, looking okay. So
I just sort of felt like that was the thing the Windies can take from this. They got into the scrap. They didn't completely make the most of their position, far from it. Then they got back into it, and the way they bowled either side of tee was just terrific. The channels they bowled to the left-handers in Head and Stark, getting the ball to move around late, and Carey. That was a bad shot from Carey. He'll want that one back just before tee.
Had a few of those lately.
Look, again, extraordinary amount of latitude that Carey gets because of the way he plays, and that's fair at number 7. For the most part. But just before tee, you probably want him letting that one go rather than looking to score in the way that he was, being a high-risk shot with the ball, always having heaps of carry. What I loved about today really was that, whisper it, this was the old Barbados today. This was the old Kensington Oval. This is the Kensington Oval that was spoken about in hushed tones. The one that's built famously on the coral that saps out all the water, which means that it's quicker and harder and faster, and it prompts having fast bowlers.
72% clay concept. I found last night. I had a chat with the prof, who's the consultant, the pitch consultant. He said they've got a curator, they've got a groundsman, and they've got him as the pitch consultant. They've got a full meeting of the
More the
minds.
better. Well, you look at
it's
these
a League
names
of
around,
Nations. David Lloyd George is involved in the pitch production here.
So you got Wes Hall, Charlie Griffith. You've got what have we got here? Malcolm Marshall, Joel Garner. The fast bowlers. There's a reason why there are so many fast bowlers from a country with a population of 300,000, and it is the natural elements. It's the natural conditions. And today we got to see that. And for a long time, the criticism of this ground is it's not been as quick as it used to be. A bit like the Wacker, right? Well, today it felt like Barbados is meant to feel, and that was most enjoyable to watch. And the Australians made the most of it late as well. Cummins' first couple of overs were untouchable. After Stark knocked the top off with 2 early wickets, the wicket that was the second in the sequence, John Campbell, was a carbon copy of the way he picked up Ryan Rickleton a week and a half ago in the first innings at Lords. And obviously late in the day, Hazelwood gets the chance to bowl at the night watchman and does not miss. So that's the story of Australia's last 20 overs, but there'll be far, far, far more focus on the top order. Constas was the first to go. I think we all anticipated today when the coin came down in Cummins' favour to be a Constas story, but it ended within 15 minutes. Out leg before, just caught on the crease. Not his first rodeo being caught on the crease, Constas. That was certainly the strong through line last year in Shield cricket, was that was a mode of dismissal that repeated time and again. So he's young, he's got heaps and heaps and heaps of time on his side, but it's a thing. So
he's got 5 more innings in this series, and if he doesn't do well in them, then what's happening next? That's the big issue.
Well, the trick there is going to be, like, they want Khawaja and Constas to get them through to Sydney, right? They want 8 test matches with those 2 opening together. They can't
do that if he doesn't make any here. So
and the same applies, but the same applies to an extent with Khawaja, and he'd feel the same way. Khawaja has said repeatedly that the way his career's played out in the second portion of it, that it's always been a bit of a, not test to test, but sort of a series to series proposition. He's going to be 39 in December. That's the way it goes with older batters. They have less latitude, and I know he gets 47 today, and he guts it out in a really commendable way. But he could have been out in a familiar fashion with his feet off the ground, drop behind the wicket in ways that we have talked about quite a bit on the podcast. So that's an open question, and that's okay. That doesn't say that doesn't diminish Khawaja's contribution. That doesn't say that he can't still do it. It's just an open question, and that's the way this sport works.
There's something familiar where he's getting out to quality fast bowlers around the wicket, particularly. And it's Shamar Joseph coming around the wicket that draws that early edge from him. Then he plays the cut shot with Seales later, I think, who got that second edge into the gully where that was put down. And then Inglis trying to smack one over deep square leg. Might come back to that in the Hall of Fame. And he's out in single figures as well. So they've got these three things they're trying, which is Constas, they've got Inglis coming in, and they've got Green at 3. They've all failed. Green pushes hard at the ball and edges one. And then there's the partnership, and then it's Shamar Joseph with the quality again coming back. So Justin Graves bowls a long spell after lunch, which seemed a bit odd. You were thinking, where is Shamar Joseph? And then once he comes back, he does the thing again. He gets Khawaja, pace, short ball, trying to pull it, bottom edge. It goes through, and then the ball that he bowled to Bo Webster, delivery of the day comfortably.
I mean, that's as Baz and I were on comms for that together, and I, needless to say, went up to fifth gear for that one. We had the best angle for it, because we got to see Webster playing down the middle and leg line, only for it to hit the top of off. It's a dreamy delivery. Baz described it as one of the balls of the decade so far. I love that stuff. It felt that way. It felt like a moment in time. You know,
who bowled the ball of the century here in 2015?
Devendra Bishu at Dominica bowled the century, Mark II, 22 years after Warnes won. It was on the same day, which I was on comms for that too, actually, as it turns out. So, but no, the Joseph delivery
last year down at Oyston's Fish Market.
Yeah, apparently we're going to try and catch up with him this week at Oyston's Fish Market on Friday night. Baz was talking to Swalk on that earlier. That was the moment of the day for me. It was when Joseph came back and bowled that second spell, got Khawaja pulling bottom edge, and then gets Webster with an absolute gem, the best ball of the day by some way.
Yeah, I mean, the angle in, the cutaway, goes through him, knocks him over, and then, look, there's Seales who ends up getting the 5 for at the end because he rushes through a fair bit of the bottom order, edge from Stark for naught, Cummins whacks 28, and then drills one to mid-off, Hazelwood gets bounced out. But Shamar Joseph's the one who should have had the 5 because he already had 4. And then there's a couple of times he gets line drops later, but there's we got to come to the review.
Yeah.
The bottom edge, it's hairdo placeable, slashes at the ball, through to the keeper, caught, given not out, they review it, bottom edge shows the spike on DRS. Hooray, up go West Indies, he's going to be out. And then they go to the gloves, and they go to Shoaib's gloves. And they're on the floor, he's put the gloves on the grass because the ball's coming to him low. The ball on this replay has so clearly hit the ends of his fingers and rolled up into the glove. It is as clear as day, I think, that it is there. There is one frame in there where, because it squashed the padding of the glove, it's obscured the padding for a second. You can't specifically see the padding, but it's already hit the padding. The ball is going in one direction, which is towards the wicketkeeper. It can't hit the padding and then go back onto the grass and then come back up into the gloves. And Adrian Holtstock in the third umpire's chair goes, oh, well, there's a bit where we can't see what's going on, so it's not clear, not out. I was flummoxed by that. I think that is probably the most bizarre third umpire call I've seen since Nigel Long in the day-night test in 2015.
Yeah, it won't surprise you, Glenn. I don't have as an effusive view on that. I thought it was out as well, but I also could see a world where the ball can currently, what you're describing there, where
it can get wedged between ground and the end of the fingers.
At the same time, and thus he wanted to go with the benefit of the doubt to the batter in that scenario.
First frame gives you a glimpse of the finger of the padding underneath.
No, I get it.
I don't think it can.
I get your point. I'm just like whether it was a concurrent thing. These things are incredibly difficult, so I don't envy Adrian Holtstock in.
I just think they have to give umpires the latitude to give those out because umpires are too nervous to do it.
Yeah, I'm an outer on those. Yeah. Like my instinct is always that's out. Like in much the same way that I thought that Kohli was out of Sydney this year. Because my instinct was that he had control of the ball and he was on the way up. But there's always divide opinions. Most people thought it was not out. I thought it was out. You obviously thought it was very out. And that's a returning theme of low catches with third umpires is that there's going to be some people who are going to be pissed off either way.
Yeah, there's it's very dissatisfaction, I guess. Yeah. But it feels like you're encouraging umpires to be timid, and that rather than making what sort of from an understanding cricket sense says that ball's probably carried. I don't know.
Have we reached the end of segment 1? We might have come pretty close. We're 123 behind, just a reminder of that key piece. So 8 wickets in the final session, which meant 14 on the day, which is exactly what it was at Lords on days 1 and 2. We may well be heading towards a rapid finish here. But in saying that, who'd want to predict anything after what happened at Lords when things changed entirely? Before we go to our break, Jeff, our partners on the show for every Australian Test match and every long episode that we're making through seasons 18 and 19, Maurice Blackburn Lawyers are Australia's number one plaintiff
sort of do an
law
M
firm.
With your fingers, you can't really do a B. I don't know, maybe you can do a lowercase b. Probably looks like something else.
The super insurance story is summed up really nicely here by their lawyer, Connie, who recently assisted a man who stopped work back in 2012 because of his mental health struggles. So what happened here was, hadn't been able to work for more than 10 years, but they were still able to acquire all of his insurance cover paperwork and lodge the claim on his behalf. That included getting information from his treating doctors, the experienced lawyers, get all the material that he needed. Obviously at the time it was going to be challenging for him to do this himself. Then they submitted the claim on his behalf and it was all accepted within just 14 days. He then received close to $100,000. So this is an emblem of where super insurance, it's a complicated world, insurance at the best of times, and if you're unable to work due to injury or illness, it's yet more complex, I've no doubt. And this is where Maurice Blackburn, who are there on behalf of working people, they come to your assistance. So it makes sense to know what you're entitled to. It makes sense to learn more about super insurance if you're so inclined. Googling Maurice Blackburn Super Insurance will help with that process.
Check them out. Got offices across Australia, MBs. We'll be back with the Hall of Fame.
This is the final word. It's the first daily we're doing from the Caribbean. 3 test matches here. An absolute privilege to be here in Barbados. I had the chance last night to drive up to the extraordinarily wealthy part of the island where we drove past Rihanna's mansion. But Brat and I were in this car with this lovely driver, Randy, who Brat knows quite well. You met him last night as well.
Yep.
And every second building he goes, Rihanna owns that one, and she owns that one, and she owns that one. So, and you know, Queen Rhee's childhood home is around the corner from here as well. So whenever you're in Barbados or talking Barbados, obviously she comes up as often as like Malcolm Marshall does. That's the way it works with her extraordinary celebrity. So that's the first thing to note. And I suppose now we'll come to the man who made his test debut today. One hell of a debut.
B King.
B King. Do you want to go there first?
B King. Yeah, well, let's do.
Yep.
Tell me a bit about it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Starting your day putting down 3.
Well, no one's played. No one's played more games for the Windies without playing a test. So it's not as though the occasion would have got to him in that way. But maybe there's on the other side of the coin, having played over 110 white ball games for his country, never called up to the test team. Yeah, look, the first catch was so straightforward in the gully.
Maybe it was just confusing. He's like, what's that?
Maybe.
Haven't seen one of them before.
It was a bad drop, the one in the gully off Cameron Green. We haven't even mentioned that Cameron Green looked all at sea today. Those first 2 balls were as nervous as I've ever seen an Australian number 3. I think there's something about the aura.
If that first one's taken, he's out within the first over. He's
Thrice.
come out 3 times in a row.
Exactly. I think there's something about the aura of batting 3 for Australia.
Yeah.
Like I truly believe this. Batting 3 for Australia has got different types of baggage. I wrote about it years ago because you're in the through line of so
Bradman,
many.
Chappell,
take your pick. Bradman, then Hassett, Chappell, Ponting, myriad players that have done that job at number 3. David Boone, when we were kids growing
Nathan
up.
Lyon's done it. You know, I mean.
But
there've
Neil
been
Harvey
quite
did
a
it.
few players.
So
Alex Doolan's done it. Like they don't all have the same ring.
But this is what I mean, though, right? So when you get there, if it doesn't, it can go bad because people think number 3. They think of all those names we've listed before.
Better be Greg Chappell then.
Yeah, let's hope that the next Ian Chappell, or even though Greg did more at 4, he did play at 3 for a time. And of course, all roads lead back to Bradman on that conversation, don't they? So, you know, when he's told he's going to be the number 3 who's being backed in, that is different to being told you're the number 5 being backed in, I think. Just because of the history of the game, and that does seep through, and there are clearly some early nerves for him.
You're 3 for a game because we need someone to fill in there. You know, if it was just WTC final, you're 3, fine. But now, you know, Cummins says before this test, well, he'll get a run there, so he's probably going to bat the series.
And what's the old thing in Aussie cricket? Your best batter bats 3. It may not always be the case that your best batter is the 3, but the way you conceive of a team, best batter bats 3, and that's not where Cameron Green is quite yet. Although he has shown glimpses last year in New Zealand that he's capable of playing a role like this. He's not Australia's best batter at the moment, so he's going to have to kind of grow into it and feel comfort in that role. Tell you what, though, he could do with a score big time in the second dig whenever that starts for Australia.
Yes, and several more to follow. There are a lot of questions, and I think people are getting a bit itchy about Cameron Green because he's been there for so long. Like, he's still talked about like a developing player, but he's been there since 2021, was it, or late 2020?
He made his debut earlier than that, I reckon. Did he? Oh no, the India series in 2021. That's right, the pandemic series. So it has been a time. You're spot on. So,
right,
there you go.
He's been there for a while. You mentioned Randy, the taxi driver friend of Barrett. Given you mentioned him, I might as well bring him in. So he came to get me at the airport yesterday, and you see why there's such a connection between Barrett and this part of the world, and why he just clicks with other people, because his way of doing things is the same way of doing things here. So Randy comes and gets me. He says, "All right, we've got to pick up Barrett in like an hour. So, you know, instead of dropping you at the place, let's just go to the beach for a while." And I'm like, you know what? I have been in transit for about 16 hours, and I wouldn't mind getting to bed for a bit. But you know what? Fuck it, let's go to the beach. So we go down to the beach, and then we're at the Chefette, the fried chicken joint. So it's like, well, let's get some fried chicken because we're here. Like, might as well. First thing off the plane, straight into there, and then we hang out on the beach for what ends up being more like an hour and 3/4 because it's whenever it's going to get picked up. And then we're on the way there, and then Andrew Mason calls me, who you're working with this week, and says, drop by the radio station and do a show. So I'm like, you know what? Fine. Drop in and do 2 hours of Bajan talk back. I did the full 2 hours of Bajan. Because we've both been called in on the show plenty of times on Zoom.
Yeah.
But I've never done it in the studio, so I thought I'm going to take my one shot.
Was the talk back loose last night?
It was so loose.
Yeah. Whenever I've gone on there, it's like there's people screaming at Mason.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's funny.
So this guy hammering him going, the format of your show sucks. It should be all talk back, because it's like some talk back and then some supposed expert voices. And then we've got another guy going, we've got to sack the whole board of the West Indies, and we've got the West Indies chair is on the call with us at the same time while we're doing that. We've got people, all sorts of different vendettas were being played out on the air, and half of them were just directed at Andrew Mason by people who listen to his show and want to tell him why he annoys them. So that was like 2.5 hours.
That's what happens when you're the voice of cricket in the country.
Totally.
People have strong opinions about you. And Andrew Mason is very much that here in Barbados on the radio wave. So got him with us for SEN for the rest of the series.
So by the time I actually got to the accommodation, I was quite delirious, slept beautifully. But anyway, that was thanks to Randy for introducing me back to Barbados in the way that things will hopefully go on.
We met a bodybuilder yesterday. We didn't meet him. Brat's known him for years, and the bodybuilder thinks he's known Brat since he was a boy, which can't strictly be true, but let's just go with that.
Yep.
He's in his 80s, and he looks like he's in his 40s. Extraordinary. He goes to the gym every day. He told me he was a world champion lifter, all this kind of stuff. It was brilliant. So the people you meet along the way with Baz, it's all part of it. Jeff, I think that's us done.
Just Josh Inglis. I just wanted to touch on Josh Inglis's shot to get out.
Yeah.
Not to have a go at him, and I'm a big Josh Inglis fan, but just because it looked so agricultural. It was like, it's 22 for 2. I think now's the time to try to smack one over deep square leg for 6. But it's just something about the way that his leg stuck out as he came around in the turn of the pull shot, and they just had this flailing leg. And I was like, I've seen that shot on synthetic pitches before. I've seen that shot played by players with a much lower threshold, shall we say, at the peak of their ability.
Yeah, he's a great puller of the ball. So if you're a great puller of the ball, you're going to pull the ball.
Sure.
It's just on this particular occasion, probably a little bit of what we described with Green before. It's impossible to measure nerves, right? You can't, but how could there not be? He's batting in Steve Smith's spot this week. So, don't jump off the Josh Inglis. If you're on the Inglis bandwagon, stay there. There's a reason why all of these guys in the pavilion over there love him. There's a reason why they rate him so highly. And that over time I think will become obvious if it hasn't already in the times he's played for Australia across the formats now.
And one other from one of our listeners, Thomas Miles, who sent through this stat. So Travis Head with his unusual West Indies record, 2 Golden Ducks, 2 hundreds, a 99 and a 38 not out before today. So as Thomas observed, if he gets off the mark, he averages 143 against West Indies.
Brilliant.
Well, he made 59 today, so that will have come down a bit, but not too much.
All right, that's us done. Thank you for all the feedback on the excellent dailies that were done from Leeds as well, which are all in association with Newbury. So nice that we've got different people working with us on different programs. We'll be back with more of them to come. Of course, there'll be the wrap-up show, and Jeff and I will be here. So it's a really busy time for the final word, and I say that because, as it was in Sri Lanka, if you want to help us continue doing things like this and making the show on our terms, the way we want to make it, as often as we want to make it, well, the only way that's viable is Patreon. Patreon.com/thefinalword. We've been running that account since 2019. It's the reason why Jeff and I do this for a living. So if you've listened to us for a while, or maybe you're new to the show, meet some of the nicest people you could ever come across who love the game dearly, a number of whom are here in Barbados. Jeff's staying with them, with Bharat at the moment, which is a pretty cool thing. And that'll be us done.
That's it.
We will catch you tomorrow, same time, probably the same place. Good night.
Bye.